Hi, welcome back. And we are still dealing with our story of Palampur village in connection with the factors of production. We said the main factors of production are land, labor, and capital. We said there are two types of capital. I hope you remember in the first day of the class we said one is working capital, another one is fixed capital. So the buildings, the machineries and the machines, all that is fixed capital because it can be used for many years. Every year they don't need to buy building or machines and so on. Once if you buy it, can go for many years for using the same thing for producing things. So that's called fixed capital. Then the working capital means the money that we need in our hand to do the work. We need money because we have to buy raw materials for making something. For example, if it is producing farming, then we need to buy sand, the seeds, we need to buy the fertilizers, we need to pay for the labor and so. So we need some money in our hand. Till the production is over, there will be many expenses, and so we need money in our hand. That is called working capital. So let us, and also we talked about human capital that we study on the way coming time. So now let us see the capital that is needed in farming. In the case of farming, now we talk about the capital that is needed, both the fixed capital as well as the working capital that is required for farming. So you have already seen that the modern farming methods require a great deal of capital. So we know if you want to start farming, especially the modern farming, we need a lot of capital, we need a lot of money, we need to buy a lot of things. Example, for the first time if you start cultivation, you need to buy the machines, tractors, threshers, we need to buy fertilizers, we need to buy pesticides, weedicides and so on, and we need to hire laborers and we need to pay them their wages and so on. So we need a lot of money. So that the farmer now needs more money than before. At the time of cultivation, he needs a lot of money. Let us see the first one. Most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for the capital. So the small farmers, they do begin their farming by borrowing money from others because they don't have enough money, they have no saving. Whatever they get, they just manage with their daily life, and therefore they need a lot of money they need in order to do the harvesting, to do the cultivation. So they require a lot of money, and the money that they require, from where do they get? They borrow it from others. So they borrow from money lenders or from traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. So there are many business people are there who are ready to contribute to the farmers, to give loan and so on. Of course, not free loan but with interest. The rate of interest on such loan is very high. They are put to great distress to repay the loan. So the loan that these farmers are taking from the rich people or from the big farmers, the interest rate is very high, and the poor people are struggling. They don't have much income. So after 1 year it may become double, and it gives them a lot of stress. How are we going to repay? How will we give back? That's why even in the present age, we can see a lot of farmers are committing suicide because they have taken loan from people, money lenders, and the interest rate is very high, and they are not able to give back. Maybe their crop failed because of drought, or maybe because of flood, or because of heavy landslide or storm. Their crops can get failed in different ways. So if that happens, then they have no hope of repaying the loan. They may be thinking that after the harvest we will sell the extra harvest and give back the money. But if the harvest suddenly fails, then they have no way, no option of repaying, and that way they really suffer. And that's why quite many farmers are committing suicide in our country. It's a very pathetic situation, very sad situation for the farmers in India. Let us see the example of a farmer, Savita. Savita is a small farmer. She plans to cultivate wheat on her 1 hectare land. Besides seeds, fertilizers and pesticides, she needs cash to buy water and repair her farm instruments. So she is a small farmer and she has got just 1 hectare, and therefore she needs some money to begin her cultivation. She has to buy the seeds, she has to buy the fertilizers, then she has to repair her tools, spade or plow or whatever it is. She needs to do the repairing, the beginning of the cultivation, all that. So she will calculate, she is sitting, this much money I need for buying fertilizer, this much money I need for buying seeds, this much money I need for repairing my tools. So accordingly, when she calculated, she saw at least she needs some 3000 rupees to begin her cultivation in 1 hectare land, and she doesn't have that money. So she decides to borrow from Tejpal Singh, a large farmer in the village. When she realized in her hand there is no 3000 rupees, and so she decided, I will go and borrow it from my another farmer from the village, a rich farmer. His name is Tejpal Singh. And Tejpal Singh agrees to give Savita the loan at an interest rate of 24% for 4 months. So he said, okay, I will give you this loan, 3000 rupees, and I will give it for 4 months. After 4 months, you have to give back with higher rate of interest, 24%. So the rate is very high. If you take from the bank, and so the interest rate may be just 4 or 5%. So here it is how many times? 5 times more than what the bank is giving. So the interest rate is very high, 24%, and the interest rate is very high. And interest rate, Savita also has to promise. Savita also has to promise to work on his field as a farm laborer during the harvest season at rupees 35 per day. So apart from taking this 24% of interest, the Tejpal Singh also is making her another condition, that when the harvest season comes, you have to come and work in my field. You have to help me for harvesting, and I will give you only 35 rupees per day. So you have to agree that. Then only I will give you the loan. So these are the conditions. She has to pay 24% of interest. Then she has to go and work in his field for 35 rupees per day. Actually the rate is 60 rupees, and he says, I will give you only 35 rupees. If you don't agree, I will not give you the loan. So poor Savita, she has no other option, and therefore she agrees. Okay, I will pay you 24% interest, and I will work in your field also for 35 rupees per day. And as you can tell, this wage is quite low. Savita knows that she will have to work very hard to complete harvesting on her own field and then work as a farm laborer for Tejpal Singh. So Savita also is having 1 hectare of land, and so she has to do her work also, and she has to go and work in Tejpal Singh's field also. Otherwise, she will not get the land. So she has to work overtime. She has to work extra. In 2 places she has to work in order to complete this work. And the harvest time is very busy time. As a mother of 3 children, she has a lot of household responsibilities. So Savita agrees to these tough conditions, as she knows getting a loan is difficult for a small farmer. So Savita really knows, if I take this loan from Tejpal Singh, I have to pay very high interest of 24%. I have to work in his field for harvesting for 35 rupees per day, and she has got 3 children. She has to look after those children also, their health, their food, their school, everything she has to look after. So she knows it is a very tough condition. She has to be really working hard and she'll be very tired. But she knows I'm a small farmer. I cannot get a loan. Nobody is willing to give me loan. Therefore, only this fellow is willing to give. And if I don't agree this condition, then nobody else will give me land, nobody else give me loan, and therefore my cultivation will not be possible. Therefore she agrees to that and tries to do that work. So really pitiable condition. And let us see the example of another person. So in contrast to the small farmers, the medium and the large farmers have their own savings from farming. So Savita is a small farmer, and if you consider other farmers, small, medium scale farmers and the large farmers, then they have got more land to cultivate, and therefore their harvest amount also will be higher. And at the end, when they sell this, after the harvest, they'll have some extra harvest, more than what they require for their family. So they can sell these extra things and they can get some money, and that money can be used for next year farming as a capital, to buy seed, to buy fertilizer, to repair tools and so on. But for Savita, she is a very small farmer and she has no saving at all. Everything is over by the end of the year, and to begin next year's cultivation she has nothing in her hand. So she is really struggling. But farmers who have got little more land, medium-sized farmers and the large-scale farmers, they have got more land, therefore their cultivation is also more, their production also is more, and therefore they will be able to have some saving in their life. And they are thus able to arrange for the capital needed. How do these farmers have their own savings? You shall find answer in the next session. So we already said they will be cultivating more, and therefore they will be getting more harvest, more than what they require for their family. Therefore they are able to sell it out to others and get some profit, extra money, saving will be there, and that saving will be kept aside for using in next years. So the story so far, we are just seeing the summary of what we have studied so far. So it is like a paragraph, fill in the blanks and all there. Let us see what are the words fitting to be filled there. We have read about the three factors of production: land, labor and capital, and how they are used in farming. Let us fill in the blanks given below. So with the knowledge so far you gained, try to fill it up these points. Among the three factors of production, we found that labor is the most abundant factor of production. So among all these, the most important is labor is the abundant, that is in abundance, but all do not have enough work to do. Then there are many people who are willing to work as farm laborers in the villages, whereas the opportunities of work are limited. They belong to either landless families or dash, so which is the word that you fill it up. The people who don't have work, either they belong to landless families or small farmers. Small, the answer is small. Small farmers. Then they are paid low wages and lead a difficult life. So these farmers, small farmers or landless farmers, they are paid very low wage and therefore they are leading a very difficult life. In contrast to labor, dash is a scarce factor of production. What is scarce factor of production? We said the land. Land is the second one. Land is a scarce. Scarce means very much limited. We cannot find in abundance. So the land is fixed and we cannot expand it. So it is a scarce. Cultivated land area is dash. Cultivated area. All the land on the earth cannot be used for cultivation. Some are used for forests, some are wastelands, some are desert, and so on. So the cultivation land or the cultivated land area is less. Moreover, even the existing land is distributed dash equally or unequally. What is the answer? Unequally. So the existing land is distributed unequally among the people engaged in land farming, and there are a large number of small farmers who cultivate small plots of land and live conditions not much better than the landless farm laborers. So there are many people who are very poor and their condition is very pathetic. To make the maximum use of the existing land, farmers use dash and dash. So the land is limited, and in order to get the maximum product from that small piece of land that they have, they use some methods. What are the methods they use? One is multi-cropping. We can plant more crops in the same place. First we will plant one crop, after the harvest we will plant another crop, after the harvest of that one we will plant another one. That is called multi-crop. So in a year 2 or 3 types of plants they can do, farming they can do. That is called multi-cropping. Multi-cropping. And another one is, what is the second method the farmers are using? That is modern farming. Modern farming method. Modern farming method they use, called modern farming method. Both these have led to increase in production of crops. So because of using this multi-cropping and modern farming methods, the production in the land has increased. They are able to produce more. And modern farming methods require a great deal of dash. What is the answer? The answer is capital. Capital. This is the answer, capital. Then small farmers usually need to borrow money to arrange for the capital and are put to great distress to repay the loan. Therefore, capital too is a scarce factor of production, particularly for the small farmers. So, we saw the case of Savita, how difficult it is for her to get loan from the farmers, from the rich farmers. Since she is a poor farmer, nobody is willing to give. And if anybody is giving also, it will be under tough condition. The interest rate will be very high and they will be putting more conditions that they have to come and work in the field with a low wages and so on. So, for the small farmers to get capital is very difficult. Therefore, just like land is scarce, we can say capital also is very scarce, especially in the case of small farmers. And though both land and capital are scarce, there is a basic difference between the two factors of production. Dash is a natural resource, whereas dash is man-made. So, we are talking about these two which are scarce. Land is scarce, capital also is scarce. So, there is a difference between land and the capital. What is the difference? First one is dash is natural resource. So among these two, which is a natural resource? Land or capital? Land. Land is a natural resource. Then another one, capital, or we can say another name, money. So money is man-made. So land is natural resource, and capital or the money is man-made. And it is possible to increase capital whereas land is fixed. So however hard we work, the land remains same. We cannot extend the land. We cannot pull and make the land bigger and longer. Is it not? But if you work hard, then what will increase? Money will increase. If you work hard, then the money can increase, but the land cannot increase. That is a difference. Land is natural resource and it remains the same. It cannot be increased. And money or capital is man-made and it can be increased. If you are not working hard, it will become less and less. If you work very hard, then it will become more and more. And therefore, it is very important that we take good care of land, other natural resources used in farming. So, land is scarce and it is fixed and it cannot be increased by our hard work. And therefore, the little land that we have, the area that we have for cultivation, we need to take care of it and we need to make sure that it is not getting spoiled, it is not misused, or it is not turned to be unproductive land and so on. If you are not careful, if you are simply putting pesticides and fertilizers, then the quality of the land will go down. It will not produce much. So we need to take care of our land and we need to protect it from soil erosion and other throwing waste in the land or throwing plastic in the land and so on. We have to reduce all that. Otherwise, this good soil that we have, it all will be destroyed. So that is about the third factor called capital. So now let us see sale of surplus farm products. How do the farmers do the sale? So we have used land, labor and capital we have produced, and after the harvest some may be selling. There may be surplus products. Surplus means extra, more than what I need I have produced. Maybe for 1 year I need only 100 sacks of 100 kg of rice, for example. 100 kg of rice I need for 1 year. But in my farm I have produced 200 kg of rice. So 100 kg is surplus. I can sell it away. Then with that money I can do the needs of my family. I can keep some money separate for buying seeds and fertilizers for next year and so on. So that is possible only for the medium farmers and the rich farmers. Those farmers who are cultivating the small plot of land, they will not have any extra in order to sell it. They will be just having sufficient or not even sufficient for their family. So those small farmers, they cannot think about selling. Only rich farmers or medium farmers will be able to sell something because they will have something extra. Then let us suppose that the farmers have produced wheat on their lands using 3 factors of production. So a farmer has produced wheat using these 3: land, labor and capital. And the wheat is harvested and production is complete. What do the farmers do with the wheat? They retain a part of the wheat for the family's consumption and sell the surplus wheat. Small farmers like Savida and Govind's sons have little surplus wheat because their total production is small, and from this a substantial share is kept for their own family needs. So it is the medium and the large farmers who supply wheat to the market. So we said the small farmers, they cannot have anything extra. They don't have anything extra to sell it. Therefore only the medium farmers and the rich farmers who have got plenty of land, large farmers, only they will be able to sell the wheat or the paddy into the market. And the picture 1.1 you can see the bullock carts streaming into the market, each carrying loads of wheat. The traders at the market buy the wheat and sell it further to shopkeepers in the towns and cities. So we have seen in the beginning of this page, the picture 1.1, where the beginning of the lesson we see so many bullock carts from the village. They are going to the market, getting the extra or the surplus wheat for selling in the market. So these farmers will go to the market and they will sell it to the people there. Some business people will be there to buy from the farmers. For example, they will buy from the farmers per kg, let us say 15 rupees. So 15 rupees per kg they will buy from the farmers. Then they will go and sell it to the shopkeeper. They will take profit. They will not sell to the shopkeeper again for 15 rupees. They will take some extra money. They will add. Maybe let us say they are adding 3 rupees. So they will sell it to the shopkeeper for 18 rupees. They will sell it to the shopkeeper for 18 rupees. Then what will the shopkeeper do? Shopkeeper will keep it in his shop and people will come, especially people who are landless farmers. They have no land to cultivate. So they will come and buy from the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper is buying the wheat from the businessman for 18 rupees. Then the shopkeeper will not sell it to the people for 18 rupees. He will need some more profit. And so he may, let us say, he will increase 3 rupees. So he will sell it to the people, those who want to buy wheat from his shop. Let's say, for example, he will sell it for 21 rupees. So the farmer originally is selling to the businessman the wheat for 15 rupees. Then the businessman will sell it to the shopkeeper for 18 rupees. Then shopkeeper will sell it to the landless farmers, others, those who are in the town, those who are no cultivation, and so they will sell it to them by 21 rupees. So the price is increasing as the middleman is increasing. The price also will be increasing because everybody wants some profit. They will not sell it to the exact price. They want some profit and they will increase the price. That is how the sale of things, sale of farm product is going on. So the traders at the market buy the wheat and sell it further to shopkeepers in the towns and cities. Then Tejpal Singh, the large farmer, has a surplus of 350 quintals of wheat from all his land. So we saw that the large farmer Tejpal Singh, from whom Savida is taking the loan. So he has surplus extra 350 quintals. 350 quintal means 1 quintal means 100 kg. So he has got 350 quintals are there. So many kgs are there. And he sells the surplus wheat at Raiganj market and has good earnings. So he will take all his surplus 350 quintal and he will sell it in the Raiganj market and he will get good profit. What does Tejpal Singh do with his earnings? So he will sell all this extra wheat in his market and he will get a lot of money. And what will he do? Last year Tejpal Singh had put most of the money in his bank account. Later he used the saving for lending to farmers like Savida who were in need of loan. He also used the savings to arrange for the working capital for farming in the next season. And this year, Tejpal Singh plans to use his earnings to buy another tractor. Another tractor would increase his fixed capital. So, Tejpal Singh is, what will he do with the money that he gets by selling the wheat? He will go and put all that money in his bank. He will put in the bank and the bank will give him some interest. So his money will increase. And when he needs the money, he will take it out from the bank. Maybe when some people come and ask for loan, he will take it out from the bank and give to them. And they have to return back afterwards with high interest. And then he will use some money for beginning his cultivation next year. He will use it as a capital to buy seeds, to buy fertilizers and so. So some money he will keep it. And again there is extra money, then he will buy some modern machines. He is planning to buy a tractor so that he can plow his field and he can also give to others for plowing. He can go and plow others' field. Those who don't have tractor, he will hire from this Tejpal Singh and he will get money again from them. So that way he can increase. So he is already having a tractor and he is going to buy one more tractor. So it will increase his fixed capital. Tractor is a fixed capital. He can go on using many more years. So it will increase his working fixed capital. Then like Tejpal Singh, other large and medium farmers sell the surplus farm products. So we are just telling the example of Tejpal Singh. So like him, there are many more farmers are there who are big, rich, having a lot of land, and so they will be getting a lot of profit. And a part of the earning is saved and kept for buying capital for the next season. So they all will save some money and keep what is needed for them to begin cultivation next year. And thus they are able to arrange for the capital for farming from their own savings. So the rich farmers and the medium farmers, they have got enough money in their hand by selling the extra produce, and so that money they will keep. They don't need to worry about next year from where will I get money, how will I manage my cultivation, all that. They have no worry at all because the money is there in their hand. They will keep it nicely safe. But it is the small farmers who are worried. They don't have enough things to sell, and so they'll be worrying, how will I manage next year, how will I get money for next year, how am I going to survive, how am I going to begin my cultivation. They have a lot of tension, worry, the small farmers. So some farmers might also use the savings to buy cattle, trucks, or to set up shops. So when they have extra money, they can plan out, what can I do? Some may say, I'll buy some more cattle, I'll buy some more buffalo or cows or something, or I'll buy a truck so that I can carry my extra things to go to the market. Otherwise I have to hire a truck and I have to pay charge for the truck, and so I will be losing money. So I have got enough money, I'll buy one truck so that I can carry my things to the market, and from market I can buy fertilizer and other things and come back. So having a truck means I can save more money, and if others want, I can give them also, then get money from them. So that will become an extra source of income for them. And as we shall see, these constitute the capital for non-farm activities. So they can get this money and do the other works. Maybe they can buy a truck which is not meant for the farm but for carrying other things, not for cultivation, but after the cultivation they can carry things. So trucks, or they can buy a shop, or they can buy a building, or they can make a house, better house, and so all these are called non-farming activities, not connected to the farming. Farming means preparing the land, digging the land, tilling the land, sowing the seed, harvesting, threshing, all these are connected with farm activities. After harvest, it is no more farm activities, it is called non-farm activities. So if they have plenty of extra money, then they can buy all these things and do other work as well. That will be helpful for them. So that is how some of the farmers they are doing, and therefore they are becoming richer and richer, while the poor farmers are remaining poorer, and they are struggling in their daily life. So we shall wind it up for today, and in the next class we will come back again and we will talk about the non-farm activities. We said some who have got extra money, they will be buying trucks, they will be buying some other things, they will be buying a house or shops. So let's talk about what are the non-farm activities that are there, that are available there in the village style, in the village setup. So we will study in the next class. So till we meet again, bye.